Turning to this breaking news in the Trump stolen documents probe, an escalation after the DOJ has beaten Donald Trump's other effort to slow this case. They got that whole special master tossed. We've been reporting that for you. Now, DOJ prosecutors who are overseen by that recently appointed special counsel, Jack Smith, are taking a new aggressive step towards former President Trump as his team eyes whether this new special counsel will make any charges more likely, and certainly whether they'll make charges of Donald Trump more likely. So the new team is trying to have Donald Trump himself held in contempt. The DOJ is formally asking a judge to hold Trump and his office basically in contempt of court for how it's failed to comply with a legally binding subpoena to return secret documents and other resistance. This is according to the Washington Post. And this story crossed today. I can tell you, it made people in Trump world nervous, and they have some experience with bad legal story headaches. But when it's bad enough, they still do get nervous as a human level event. The Washington Post says Trump lawyers have basically reputedly refused to even affirm everything was returned. The new request comes after months of frustration at the DOJ with Trump's team. And it could overlap with the news reported yesterday that in coordination for this project, basically Trump had to hire these people under court order, and they found potentially more classified documents in another storage unit. What I'm telling you tonight is a significant development in an open criminal probe. If you want to put it in news terms, it would have been our top story for sure if it were a different international news day. We are talking about this Garland Justice Department, which at times has been quite patient with Donald Trump, and this new special counsel who's overseeing this case, we know that, asking a judge in Washington to hold a former president in contempt. Now, that would certainly be unusual. The report explains as well that in recent days, the DOJ secretly asked the judge to hold Trump's office in contempt. Now, the judge, and this is an important distinction, has not yet held a hearing, let alone ruled on this request, according to that Washington Post blockbuster story. Now, let me tell you why I mentioned that. This is a big deal. This news tonight, right now, is more about the DOJ's aggressive posture than an independent finding of wrongdoing against Trump. Now, you could say, well, Ari, based on what I've seen, including the tranche of stolen documents at Mar-a-Lago, I feel like they wouldn't do this for nothing. And you are entitled to find their request reasonable. What we're not reporting, though, is that a judge is holding the president in contempt. That would be an even bigger deal. We don't believe it's ever happened, certainly not publicly. It will be up to a judge to determine how seriously to take the request, whether to hold hearings, and whether Trump or anyone in his team has committed the kind of conduct that warrants contempt. Now, holding someone in contempt in an open criminal probe when obstruction and other related issues are on the table is a huge deal. But it can also happen in other types of cases. And this is why people say, on the one hand, gosh, it seems like Trump gets away with a lot, but then on the other hand, seems like he might be getting away with a little less lately. Before I bring back Maya and David Corn as promised, let me mention one more thing. Remember in New York? There was a contempt finding there. I know it's a lot of different cases that Trump is juggling, but it was a contempt finding against him in the New York Attorney General's civil case that had a huge impact. It forced him into testifying in that case. And that was the first time he ever pled the Fifth Amendment on the grounds that telling the truth would incriminate himself in crime. And all of this comes after that legal loss for Trump in the Mar-a-Lago case where those senior judges, including Trump appointees, completely tossed his special master. So that's why it feels a little bit different. David Corn, Mother Jones Washington Bureau Chief, is here as promised. He's the author of American Psychosis, and Counselor Maya Wiley back with us. I take great care to distinguish what this is and isn't. But for folks who are saying, Maya, a lot's going on, if a federal judge holds you in contempt, is that a big deal?
Yeah. You know why? One, I could go to jail and stay there for a long time until I'm in compliance, as well as the fine. You, I think, said it quite rightly, Ari. It's also a clear indicator, and as we've seen, Trump blinks when this happens. And this is really critically important because underneath all of that, besides the implications of if he's held in contempt, what he faces, is that we have prosecutors who are being very cautious about not appearing political in going after him, saying, not only do we think he is refusing, underneath this is he can't even get a lawyer to swear that they know where the documents are, they've turned it all over. I mean, underneath it, he hasn't even been able to designate someone who can say to the Department of Justice, we know where the documents are. We've turned over what you're asking for. We can certify it. We can sign our names and swear to it. And we've already seen this play out in the Mar-a-Lago investigation, where lawyers who did had to kind of go, oh, wait, well, no, we actually didn't know. And we had, in that same context, hearing that Donald Trump had said to others that he thinks they're his documents. So really, this is not the Department of Justice being aggressive at all. It is a recognition that Donald Trump cannot be trusted to cooperate with classified documents.
And, you know, it seems like a long time ago, but just days after the company that he owns and controls has been found guilty of criminal fraud, right? So it's like, so we're going from fraud to contempt in a matter of days. Well, of course, he's talking about trashing the Constitution. I mean, what's interesting to me about this, it's bubbling out now. As you know, we don't know how a judge is going to react, but he has hired he's been forced to hire a private firm to look for evidence of his own criminality. I mean, he's hired these people well, I don't know, are there documents in Trump Tower? Are there more documents Mar-a-Lago? Oh, we found some in a storage unit. And so it seems like even the Justice Department is looking at this and saying this, too, is not good enough. Whatever these people, this firm is doing, they don't feel they're getting the type of cooperation, because remember, this goes back to May. In May, he said, you know, we gave you everything, and we want to cooperate. And then it turns out, well, guess what? That was a lie. You know, and so then the FBI came in and they said, oh, we found a lot more, and then they still believe he hasn't turned over everything. So, you know, one can ask, is he just being recalcitrant? Is he being sloppy? Is he holding on to things for a reason? But whatever it is, you think at this point in time, when they're all over you, you would say, I'm doing everything possible, and that usually would be enough if they thought, for the Justice Department, if they thought you were doing this in good faith, right? Exactly,
and it actually started before May. Remember, this started in January, and it took we talked about this before, Ari, on a previous show. They gave him so much room to cooperate. It took them from January to May to actually get a subpoena.
Right, that's why I said it's aggressive compared to the way they were rolling.
They basically gave him the answers to the test. It's like, that's A and that's D, you know, just give us the stuff and we will go away and we'll pretend this didn't happen.
And he, just as he misjudged things in the midterms, and everyone's been looking at that, he severely misjudged Garland. He misjudged that he would never go into his house. He did. He misjudged that, it was going to wind down. Well, special counsel takes over a big case and may not feel like winding it down, may feel like, how do we do this? And then there's another piece I want to get to in the reporting that you both have alluded to, but quite confirmed now in the report. Some of Trump's lawyers are wary of making a claim under oath based on Trump's word alone. According to two sources, prosecutors are asking the judge to find Trump citing contempt as long as none of his advisors are willing to assume the role of custodian of records responsible for a complete answer to the question. Maya, this is not usually the sticking point, even with convicted defendants.
Even with mobsters. I mean, like people who are racketeering, you usually have a lawyer who is able to represent that they have done a search for documents and not fear that they're going to either lose their law license or end up in jail.
Yeah, and David, I'm going to give you the final point. They used to talk about a wartime consigliere or a peacetime consigliere. I don't know if you get that reference.
Godfather, of course.
It's an obscure one.
Yes.
Donald Trump's problem is no consigliere will work for him.
Right. He better call Saul, but I think Saul would say no. Even Saul would say, I'm not signing anything. And, we know that other lawyers who have previously represented to the Justice Department that the stuff was delivered, they may be in the crosshairs now for obstruction of justice, for not dealing honestly with the Justice Department. So when your lawyers need lawyers, you can't get new lawyers because they don't want to have to get lawyers. It's it's such a tangled.
Well, and sometimes, to quote a new aphorism, I may coin this right here: when your lawyers need lawyers, You might need a tailor for a prison jumpsuit. That's new. That's hot off the press, Maya.
Okay,
I like
okay.
it.
We'll work on that a little bit.
It needs work?
I think a tiny
And
bit.
we appreciate honesty here.
Okay.
It's like Maya said to me once, 15% references to songs, you'd be fine.
Yeah, 18, 20s, and too
Yeah,
much.
good.
Okay, well-
Honest feedback. Hey, I'm Ari Melber. Thanks for watching The Beat. I wanted to let you know I'm writing a foreword to the January 6th committee's full report, which is coming out soon from HarperCollins. You can go pre-order the book right now, and it'll come to you first when the report comes out in the fall or whenever the government releases it. Just search Melber Jan 6 on Amazon or your favorite independent book site and click pre-order. You'll be the first to get both the report and my new piece on the coup conspiracy. You can also go to melberbook.com and order it there.